Alrighty, hey guys, what's going on? Different sort of video here. I'm in my desert attire, my wasteland attire, but we're not in the wasteland. In fact, we're in a pretty cool looking little testing ground, and that is because I am making a tutorial on how to build the earth roamers from the series. I've had a few people ask, and so this is going to be this video. But let's do the Now, let's talk about schematics. I haven't found a way to make schematics work because there is like 6 different ships all combined into one, and they all need to be glued in a specific order, and I haven't been able to make any schematic work depending on what order I glue them. So, unfortunately, to build a roamer, you're going to have to build it from scratch, but it's not that hard. Here, let's get to that now. So in this barrel here are all the things that you're going to need, the main sort of things to make it work. Obviously more than just one. The other thing you're going to need to think about is how you're going to power it. So obviously in the series, mine uses creative motors just because they're light and they have like a lot of torque. But you can use, if you have dreams and desires add-on or the diesel generators, you can use different forms. But I've gone with the creative just because some people, might not want to... Hello. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create a block that is physics enabled. I've always started by placing down a physics bearing and then placing down a girder. The girder is like what I want to use for the chassis. You can use any block. I just like to use it because I like how it looks. So once you've got the one placed, right click it with a physics bearing, and then you can get rid of the bearing and you now have this physics enabled block. But I typically go for 5 wide and 6 long. And I've got like a weird thick middled T shape here, and that's just because I'm going to put the pistons here, and these are the pistons that are going to be used to make everything straight. So this is one portion of the actual roamer. So the next portion is going to be enabling articulation between the front and back wheels. And so to do that, we add a physics bearing in the middle here on top of the girder. Add another girder onto this physics bearing, and then with an empty hand, right click this. Nothing will change, but this is now physics enabled. Now what you're going to want to do is place a physics bearing underneath this, pointing down. So I have this mod where I can crawl, but yeah, place that so that the white side is facing down. Take a girder, place it on, and again with an empty hand, enable that. Now I'm going to quickly just fill this in. You'll see that this is physics enabled. It's going to drop to either side. There we go. So now we have essentially 3 ships into one. For ease of use, while we're building it, let's just take any block and put it behind the piston here, and let's just power these pistons. And that's just going to make sure that it's all locked up so that we can build this with ease. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to build a little platform that we can sit this on for while we build the wheels. What is happening here? Alright guys, sorry to interrupt this video, but there's an exciting announcement that I want to make. In the description and in the Discord, there is a server IP and some information. As a community, we are building Solstice, the fictional city used in our Trailblazing series. As the series went on, I realized that I actually needed to get a city built, and I don't have enough free time to do it on my own. If you have a knack for building dystopian and cyberpunk themed buildings, you are welcome. Well, in fact, anyone's welcome. If you wanted to build anything at all, you're welcome to join the server and make your mark in the series. The overall theme is a dystopian city that is running off of a failed nuclear bomb. Don't ask how that gets power, just accept it. But we're aiming to have a very dense city with a wide variety of builds. If building skyscrapers and high-tech buildings isn't your thing and interiors is, well, good, because we have a lot of buildings that need interiors. So if this seems like something that you'd be interested in, go ahead and check the description and join the server. It's open 24/7, and I don't know for how long, and until I need to record the episode, I suppose. So once the frame is in the air, just place a block on the outermost part of this frame, and then you can go ahead and add a physics bearing on the end of that. There we go. Now what I normally do is I build the wheels next. And you would have noticed that I use these drill pieces for like the center bearing sort of thing. It just sort of looks a little bit different. It's a little bit better than just like a, just another block there. But once you place those on, get an empty hand and activate all of these physics bearings. Then of course, any block, whatever you want, but I'm going to use terracotta here. I'm going to make an inside hub. These wheels can be made different sizes. The bigger the wheel, the faster the thing will go, but also the more weight the motors will have to push, if that makes sense. So you'll have to have the motors set to a higher output in order to move the wheels, but then then the roamer might be a little bit unsteady on the ground. Now, in terms of what to use on the outside, there is different friction rates for blocks. So like if I was to coat these in ice, they would not work as well as any cobbled blocks. I'm not sure if there's any other blocks that are better or just as good as cobbled blocks, but I use cobbled deep slate. You can use, just cobblestone, regular stone, but this is just what I've found works. And as you can see here, it's yeah, it's a bit heavy on one side, but that's fine. We'll even it out. Another really useful mod to have, I use this for the wheels and a lot of the blocks, is the Copycats Plus mod. It just adds a bunch of different shapes rather than just like the original 2 panels that you get or something like that. So for the wheels, I like to use stairs and slabs. The reason I don't just use cobbled deep slate slabs is that because on 2 of the 4 sides, they're only going to place sort of extruded like that, whereas you will get the desired effect on one of them. But if you use the copycat slabs, they can be placed, vertical or horizontal, which is nice. A quick tip, if you put the desired block in your offhand, when you place the copycat block, it will take those properties instantly. You can also experiment with different shapes and amounts of, I guess, roundness. The less round a wheel is, I feel like the better it will climb hills, but the more torque or the more rotational power is required to spin it. There we go, those are our wheels done. So we can remove this pillar. And if we were to undo these pistons, we can now grab this thing. Hang on, there we go. We can now grab the roamer, give it a twist, make sure that the steering is working. You can see that it is. So this means that our roamer is now ready for redstone and contraptioning to make it actually drive. So let's start on that side of the project. Come to the front or back of the roamer to the edge of the chassis here, and in the middle, punch it out and put a vertical gearbox. Make sure that the output is sort of in line with the chassis, if you know what I mean, and then rotate it 90 degrees so that the output is now in line with the wheels. Then connect the physics bearings up to the gearbox, and then on one of the sides, put a gear shift and activate it with a lever, and then duplicate this on the back. I like to put a little bracket under here just to make it look a little nicer. It doesn't actually do anything, but it just makes it look a little bit more reinforced. You could also just cover this up with like copycat blocks, but let's say now you're going to take a creative motor and stick this to the gearbox. It will start moving, and it'll now climb to its heart's content. Obviously, you have no control over the steering or anything, so let's just break these now. All right, so the first step is going to be putting your control room somewhere, just so that we can set up the links. Obviously, you can change this later on, but what I'm going to do is just going to make a little platform up here, and we can add our levers. And then go ahead and add your links. There's going to be 5 in total. Now with the control room set up, we'll add some components to make the wheels drive, stop, and reverse. So go ahead and add in a gear shift, a clutch, and then your source of power. In our case, creative motor. I'm just going to go ahead and put a switch on that to stop it from moving. Put a redstone link on the clutch, redstone link on the gear shift, and shift right click them to make them receivers. There we go. And then do the same for the front or back, whatever side you started on first. Gear shift, clutch, power. Now that you've got these links in your hand, go ahead and replace these levers with links as well. Again, shift right click these to make these receivers. And go ahead and grab some wool or something distinctive that you can use to set frequencies. I'm going to touch on frequencies here because we're going to use a few. I'm going to use pistons for the piston frequency, of course, because that just makes sense. And then come up to where you're going to have your piston lever. For me, it's this one. Go ahead and add the piston frequency to this. Now, whenever I push this lever, it'll extend those pistons. Wireless magic, everybody. Amazing. And then go ahead and do the same for the clutch and the gear shift on both front and rear. So for ease of use, I'm going to make the clutch red and the gear shift blue. So now if we engage this clutch, we can now remove these levers, and you'll see that these are still engaged. And then as soon as you release the clutch, it'll start driving. And in our case, backwards. Switch that around and we'll start driving forwards. Look at that. So we've got a functioning forward and reverse and stoppable earth roamer at the moment. We don't have slabs on that one. But the next thing is obviously steering. How are we going to steer this thing? So this bearing right here is our steering bearing. As long as these pistons are retracted, the front of the roamer is free to steer, if you can see there. So in order to make this do what we want, we're going to do a similar thing to what we did with the wheels. So place a vertical on here with the outputs left or right and grab a regular gearbox and bring it out this way. Then connect your clutch and your gear shift to this, followed by your creative motor or any motor of choice. Place a few links on these components. Make sure that you keep these two blocks here clear because this is where the rotation comes from for the articulation. So you can see that it twists there, but if I was to place a link here, you see how it's lifting the front wheel as well. So make sure that you leave this open air here so that it can still rotate. Make these receivers and select colors of wool or whatever you want to use for a frequency. The clutch will go on this side one. Which color is the clutch? Yellow. And the gear shift will be purple, and that's in the center. What you might have to do is boost the power of this so that it can turn while it's stationary. But if we come over to these levers, I mean, this is reversed at the moment. If this is reversed for you, you can switch the speed. There we go, like that. So now, if the lever is pointing right, the wheels are turning right. If it's pointing left, the wheels are turning left. And if we engage this clutch, this doesn't do anything. And we can hit the pistons and straighten the chassis up if we want to drive in a straight line. But with that being done, we actually have a functioning earth roamer here. It does everything that the earth roamer in the series does. The only thing that's left to do is build a shell on top of it. These are all static builds that members of our Discord made, and they're great examples of what you can do. For example, we have this 6x6 version, which is all functional. That is incredible. We have a futuristic, sleek looking skipper. That looks very cool. You know, a little frog-like amphibian one, a nether roamer, and look, it's like a camper shell. So like the limits are completely up to your imagination. And you're not just limited to this size. You can make it smaller or bigger. It'll be a bit harder to make it smaller than this and still functional, but it'll be a lot easier to make it bigger. And if you wanted to add another set of wheels, all you do is copy this frame again one more, and hey presto, you've got 6-wheel drive. For the sake of this video, I'm going to do a quick design of something. Let's see what I can come up with. All right, so what I've sort of made here is a feeble attempt at some sort of like a home on wheels. Weird design here to sort of suit with the futuristic-esque. A nice big tinted window at the back. Come in here. You know, lovely sitting area to watch the sunset and rise over the whatever that is. And then when you're done mucking around, you know, you set off. Okay, look, it's not my proudest decision to make it look like this. Look, this is just meant to be a proof of concept so you know that it works, alright? But that is how you make a functioning earth roamer. At least how you make the chassis so that you can then build something better on top than what this is. Yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope this helped. Sorry that I couldn't get any schematics to work. If you know of a way to get schematics to work for Clockwork, you know, stuff like this, let me know in the comments below. I just don't think it's implemented yet, but I could definitely be wrong. Without further ado, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Trailblazing, where we get run down by another group of bandits. Surprise, surprise.